I never thought I'd see my teenage son cry over a pile of wooden boards, but watching him stare at the remains of his summer project broke my heart in ways I never imagined. Jake had always been the kind of kid who preferred building things over playing video games. At 15, while other teens were glued to their phones, he was out in our backyard, measuring, sawing, and creating something special for his younger cousins. It all started when my brother Tom's kids visited us for a weekend in June. Emily, 8, and Lucas, 6, were fascinated by the massive oak tree in our backyard. "I wish we had a treehouse," Emily said wistfully, her small hand resting on the rough bark. That's when Jake's eyes lit up with that familiar spark of inspiration. "Mom," he said that evening after his cousins left, "I want to build them a treehouse. A real one, with windows, a rope ladder, everything." He'd already pulled out his sketch pad, rough designs forming under his careful hands. "Uncle Tom and Aunt Diana's backyard has the perfect maple tree. Can I build it as a surprise for Emily and Lucas?" I called my brother that night. Tom was thrilled with the idea. His wife, Diana, seemed hesitant but agreed after Tom assured her we'd ensure everything was safe and up to code. Jake spent the next week researching building regulations, watching tutorials, and drafting detailed plans. He even asked Mr. Peterson, our neighbor who used to work in construction, to review his designs. What followed were 2 months of dedicated work. Jake woke up early every morning, packed his tools, and biked over to Tom and Diana's house. He used his own savings to buy materials, refusing my offers to help with the costs. "It's my project, Mom," he'd say, showing me the budget he carefully mapped out. I watched my son transform from a typical teenager into a focused craftsman. His hands grew calloused, his shoulders stronger. He learned about wood treatment, weight distribution, and weatherproofing. The treehouse slowly took shape, a sturdy 8x8 platform with real windows, a slanted roof for rain runoff, and safety rails all around. Emily and Lucas were away at summer camp, making it the perfect time for the surprise. Diana's attitude shifted from reluctant acceptance to visible annoyance as the project progressed. She made comments about the eyesore in her backyard and complained about sawdust on the patio. Tom always defended Jake's work, praising his nephew's dedication and skill. "He's doing an amazing job," Tom told her one evening, not knowing I was within earshot. "The kids are going to love it." "It's bringing down our property value," Diana snapped back. "And what about our neighbors?" The Johnsons already asked what that monstrosity was. The monstrosity was actually a beautifully crafted treehouse that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Jake even added thoughtful touches, a pulley system for snacks, built-in shelves for books, and a small solar-powered light for reading. He painted it to match Tom and Diana's house, making it look like a natural extension. The weekend before Emily and Lucas were due home, Jake spent extra hours adding finishing touches. He hand-burned a wooden sign that read "Emily and Lucas's Sky Castle." I'd never seen him prouder of anything in his life. "It's perfect," he said that Sunday evening as we did a final inspection. "I can't wait to see their faces." That was the last time we saw the treehouse intact. We had a family emergency the next day. My mother fell and needed surgery, so we spent the next 3 days at a hospital in another state. Jake was disappointed to miss his cousin's return, but he knew he'd see their reaction soon enough. Or so we thought. The text came from Tom on Wednesday evening. "I'm so sorry, you need to come over." When we pulled up to their house, I thought we'd gotten the wrong address. The massive maple tree stood bare, no treehouse in sight. Just a pile of lumber and debris scattered across the lawn. Jake jumped out of the car before I could stop him, running to the pile. His sign, "Emily and Lucas's Sky Castle," lay broken in half on top of the mess. Tom came out looking devastated. "Diana hired a demolition crew while I was at work yesterday. Said it was an insurance liability." His voice cracked. "I didn't know until I got home, and by then it was already gone." I stood there, watching my son kneel beside the remains of his summer project, his shoulders shaking silently. 2 months of work, hundreds of dollars in materials, countless hours of planning and building, all reduced to a pile of splintered wood and broken dreams. "Where is she?" I asked through clenched teeth. "At her sister's. She took the kids too. Said she didn't want them disappointed by the treehouse being gone." Tom ran a hand through his hair, looking older than his years. "I tried to stop the crew when I got home, but they'd already torn most of it down. They showed me Diana's signed authorization. Jake stood up slowly, holding the broken pieces of his handmade sign. His face was streaked with tears, but there was something else, something deeper. She didn't even wait to tell me, he said quietly. She could have told me what was wrong. I could have fixed it, made it safer, made it better. That's when I remembered the security camera still attached to Tom's garage. Jake had installed it to monitor his tools overnight. My heart started pounding. I remembered it uploaded footage directly to our cloud storage. Jake, I said, pulling out my phone, when exactly did you set up that camera? His eyes widened. The first day. It records everything in range of the tree. Tom looked between us, realization dawning. Everything. I nodded, already opening the app. Everything. And there it was. The real reason Diana had torn down her nephew's labor of love. The truth that would change our family forever was about to come out, all because of a security camera that caught what happened the day before the demolition crew arrived. Mom, Jake whispered as we watched the footage, you need to see this. The security footage started playing, and my hands began shaking as I watched Diana standing in her backyard with her neighbor, Mrs. Johnson. The timestamp read 4:30 p.m., just one day before the demolition. It's absolutely perfect for the photo shoot, Mrs. Johnson was saying, gesturing at the treehouse. My daughter's wedding photos would look magical with this as a backdrop. We could hang fairy lights, add some floral arrangements. Diana's response made my blood run cold. That's exactly why I'm having it removed tomorrow. I'm not letting that woman use my property for her photography business. She practically spat the words. She thinks just because her daughter is marrying into the Williams family, she can show off in my backyard. But isn't this your nephew's project? Mrs. Johnson asked, sounding confused. Please, Diana scoffed. Jake only built this because he's trying to compete with my David. Ever since my son got accepted into that prestigious engineering summer program, his cousin's been desperate to prove himself. My heart sank. Jake's cousin David was indeed in a summer engineering program. The same one Jake had been accepted to but turned down so he could build the treehouse for his younger cousins. He'd never even told Diana or David about his acceptance, not wanting to take away from his cousin's moment. The footage continued, revealing more of Diana's true colors. Besides, she went on, Tom's sister is always showing off how gifted her precious Jake is. Oh, he's so talented with his hands. Oh, he's going to be such a successful architect someday. Her mocking tone made me feel sick. Well, after tomorrow, there won't be any evidence of his so-called talent in my yard. The camera caught Mrs. Johnson's uncomfortable expression. But what about Emily and Lucas? Won't they be disappointed? Diana waved her hand dismissively. They'll get over it. I'm not having my backyard turned into some sort of tourist attraction for the neighborhood. The Williams family already thinks they're better than everyone else. Can you imagine them using my yard for their wedding photos? The footage continued for another few minutes, showing Diana making calls to arrange the demolition crew, specifically requesting they come while Tom was at work. She even laughed about how she'd tell the kids their cousin Jake had decided to tear it down himself. I stopped the video, feeling physically ill. Next to me, Jake stood perfectly still, his face unreadable. Tom had gone pale, his hands clenched into fists. Tom started, then stopped, looking lost. I had no idea Jake, I'm so sorry. Before any of us could say more, we heard cars pulling into the driveway. Diana was back with the kids. Emily and Lucas came running out first, their faces falling as they saw the pile of wood. The treehouse, Emily cried out, running toward the debris. What happened? Diana emerged from her car, freezing when she saw us. Her carefully composed expression faltered when she noticed my phone in my hand and the security camera above. Emily, Lucas inside now, she commanded sharply. But Aunt Sarah, what happened to our treehouse? Lucas asked, tears welling in his eyes. Mom said cousin Jake was going to build us one. I did build it, Jake said quietly, still holding the broken name sign. I finished it 3 days ago. Diana stepped forward, her face flushing. There were safety concerns. As a mother, I had to. Safety concerns. I cut her off, holding up my phone. Or were you more concerned about the Williams family using it for wedding photos? The color drained from her face. You were recording. The camera was there to protect Jake's tools, Tom said, his voice trembling with anger. But it looks like it protected something else too, the truth. Emily and Lucas looked confused, but their eyes were fixed on the broken sign in Jake's hands. You really built it for us? Emily asked softly. Jake nodded, managing a small smile for his cousins. Every board. I even put in special shelves for your books, Emily. And Lucas, there was a telescope mount for your astronomy stuff, which your mother had torn down before you could even see it, Tom added, turning to Diana. Because of what? Pride? Jealousy? Not wanting the neighbors to use it as a photo backdrop. Diana's facade finally cracked. You don't understand. Everyone in this family is always comparing our children. David works so hard to stand out. And then Jake just comes along and what? Jake interrupted, surprising us all. Builds something for his cousins because they asked for it. Spends his entire summer trying to make them happy. He took a deep breath. You know what's funny, Aunt Diana? I got accepted to the same engineering program as David. I turned it down to build this instead. Diana's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. But now I'm thinking maybe I should have gone, Jake continued, his voice growing stronger. Because at least then, my hard work wouldn't be lying in pieces on your lawn. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily and Lucas had started crying quietly, looking between their mother and the destroyed treehouse. Tom was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. I want you to know something, Jake said, walking over to his young cousins. He knelt down to their level, holding out the broken pieces of the sign. I built this because I love you both, and seeing you happy would have been worth every minute I spent on it. Sometimes people break things because they're scared or angry, but that doesn't erase the love that went into making them. Emily threw her arms around Jake's neck, sobbing. Lucas joined the hug, clutching the broken sign pieces. Tom cleared his throat. Diana, I think you should go stay at your sister's for a while. I need time to think about this. Tom, you can't be serious. I am. His voice was firm. You destroyed something our nephew made for our children, lied about it, and planned to blame him for it. All because of, what? Social status? Neighborhood gossip? This isn't the woman I married. As Diana stood there, watching her carefully constructed world crumble around her, I noticed movement across the street. Mrs. Johnson was on her porch, watching the scene unfold with a phone in her hand. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. Other times, it's captured perfectly on a security camera, revealing truths that change families forever. The aftermath of that day rippled through our family like aftershocks from an earthquake. Diana's carefully crafted image of the perfect suburban mother crumbled faster than the treehouse she destroyed. Within hours, Mrs. Johnson had shared the story with her daughter, who happened to be the editor of the local community newsletter. By evening, everyone knew how Diana Matthews had demolished her nephew's heartfelt project out of pure spite. But sometimes destruction leads to unexpected reconstruction. 3 days after the incident, David, Jake's cousin, showed up at our door. He looked uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot on our porch. Is Jake home? He asked, avoiding my eyes. I wanted to talk to him. Jake appeared behind me, surprise evident on his face. The cousins hadn't spoken since the incident, though they'd always been close growing up. Can we talk outside? David asked. Jake nodded, following him to our backyard. From the kitchen window, I watched them sit on the old garden bench. David spoke first, gesturing animatedly, his face showing a mix of shame and earnestness. Later, Jake told me what was said. I had no idea you got into the engineering program too, David had admitted. Mom always made it seem like I was the academic one and you were just good with your hands. But looking at the photos of that treehouse, Jake, that was real engineering. That was art. The boys talked for hours that evening, unraveling years of their mother's subtle competition that had affected their relationship. By sunset, they were sketching new treehouse plans together on Jake's old drawing pad. Meanwhile, Emily and Lucas refused to speak to their mother. They'd moved temporarily into Tom's home office, converting it into a makeshift bedroom, unwilling to stay at their aunt's house with Diana. Every evening, they would ask Jake to tell them about the features he'd included in their destroyed treehouse. There was a secret compartment in the floor for your rock collection, Lucas, he'd tell them over video chat. And Emily, I installed the tiny bookshelf that looked like it was growing out of the tree trunk. Their eyes would light up with each detail, then dim as they remembered they'd never see it. But children have a way of turning pain into possibility. Could we build another one? Emily asked during one call. All of us together. That simple question sparked something unexpected. Tom called the next day. I bought the materials, he said. Everything Jake used, plus extra. The kids want to help rebuild it, and well, I think we all need this. And so, 3 weeks after the destruction, our family gathered in Tom's backyard, minus Diana, to rebuild. David brought his engineering program friends. Mrs. Johnson's daughter, the one getting married, brought her fiancé and his construction-savvy father. Even Mr. Peterson from next door came to help. Jake led the project, teaching everyone as they worked. Emily learned to measure twice and cut once. Lucas discovered he had a talent for design, suggesting improvements to the original plan. David applied his engineering knowledge to make the structure even stronger. Tom worked tirelessly alongside them, as if every nail he hammered was an attempt to rebuild not just the treehouse, but his family's trust. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at his phone, looking at messages from Diana that he wasn't ready to answer. The new treehouse took shape over 2 weekends. It was different from the original, larger, with more windows and a wraparound deck. Every person who helped added their own touch. Mrs. Johnson's future son-in-law installed solar-powered fairy lights. David designed a pulley system to lift a small picnic basket. Mr. Peterson added intricate wooden railings with carved leaves. The day we finished, Jake unveiled a new sign. This one read, "The Family Treehouse, built with love by many hands." Diana showed up just as we were celebrating with lemonade and cookies in the backyard. She stood at the gate, staring at the new structure with tears in her eyes. Emily and Lucas saw her but didn't run to her like they used to. Instead, they looked at their father. Tom walked over to his wife, speaking quietly. We couldn't hear the words, but we saw Diana nod repeatedly, wiping her eyes. She's been in therapy, David told Jake later. Dad made it a condition for them to try working things out. She's trying to understand why she did what she did. The new treehouse became more than just a play space. It became a symbol of healing. Every Sunday, the family would gather there. Diana would come too, sitting quietly at first, then slowly beginning to participate. She watched her children laugh and played in the space she'd once destroyed, saw the joy she'd almost stolen from them. One evening, as the sun was setting and the fairy lights twinkled to life, Diana approached Jake, who was helping Lucas with his telescope setup. I don't expect forgiveness, she said softly, but I want you to know what you built here, both times, it's beautiful. Not just the structure, but what it represents. I forgot somewhere along the way that family isn't about competition or appearances. It's about moments like this. Jake looked at his aunt for a long moment before responding. The great thing about building something, he said, is that you can always start over. It might look different, but sometimes different is better. Diana nodded, understanding he wasn't just talking about the treehouse. As I watched them from the ground, I realized that sometimes the things we build aren't just made of wood and nails. They're built from forgiveness, understanding, and the willingness to start over. The treehouse standing tall in the maple tree wasn't just Jake's project anymore. It was our family's story of destruction and rebuilding, of breaking down walls instead of building them. And in the end, that was worth more than any perfect facade could ever be.